All right. Right. A little bit late, but waiting to see who shows up. All right, got a first six. Somebody give me a thumb. Make sure I got good comms. Hey, Mr. Tang. Hey, how are the ears? Can you guys hear me? All right, waiting for Pat to jump on here real quick. All right, Patrick.
My hair squared away
Uh,
there. Am I
look,
coming in good too, Mike? Can you hear me?
yeah, I hear you perfectly fine. I was just getting a check on my ears. All right. So we couple people to show up here. We're gonna get started. We got a bit to talk about here. Cats and kitties out there. Pat and I are gonna go over some stuff that is um, it's gonna be a little controversial. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, but it will be. And that's what I think is going to be kind of comical until people actually start listening to what we're talking about and what the rationale is behind it. All right. Um, so let me make sure that my camera is in the right spot, so I'm not looking at my feet or whatever. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. So here, okay, 5 by 5. Thanks, Steve. All right, here's the three questions that we're going to talk about. Pat and I are going to talk about, and we're going to bounce back and forth. Some of them he's going to be the lead on, some of them I'll be lead on. You guys know Pat's got a ton of. How much time you got in law enforcement?
On the PD, I got 26, and on a SWAT 20.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he's been doing for a minute or two. So, and on the only, I'm not a sworn officer. Okay. I was the in-service instructor. I helped stand up the Air Marshal program. So I'm a federal firearms instructor, a federal Air Marshal instructor. I taught all the stuff that they do, arrest procedures, use of force, all of that. So I understand that side of it. I'm not a cop. I'm not saying I'm a cop, but I understand that side of it. More than that, I understand the bureaucracy in the federal system because I was a Fed. Okay, I understand that. So some of the things we're going to talk about, we'll tap into that knowledge and some of the things that I've done before that were successful and some of the things that failed and why. So here's the kind of
Mike, real quick, one of the guys is saying your mic is squeaky. I don't know, maybe
is
the
it?
volume's up on it. I don't know, or the reception or something like that.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on one second.
Sim Shot Meridian. Is that right? Or is it Sims Hot Meridian? And while Mike's gone, guys, if anybody's out there, we're just going to go over three main topics. We might bounce
Okay.
around, but on those topics, we'll delve into them quite a bit, and then questions will pop up. Do our best to address those, right? And we'll deal with that, but we're not going to
Okay.
like bounce around and be all over the place and
No,
all that type
it's
of
going to be
stuff.
very structured. It's going to be structured because there's a lot to talk about and it's not a free flow. If some of this that we talk about doesn't apply to your department, then it doesn't apply to your department. I know there's some very progressive departments out there doing really great stuff, but what we're talking about is the broad brush of law enforcement. And I've very likely, because of what I've done over the years, have worked with more departments than most cops ever have. Okay, all over the country, some in other countries. So it's not like I don't have experience dealing with people from different departments and seeing their cultures and all the rest. So just hang in there. Here we go. So let's talk about first thing is going to be okay. The first kind of statement bullet point Pat and I were talking about cops and USPSA competition. What's good and what's bad about it? Okay, because there's some stuff that's not good about it. Okay, um, and we'll talk about what's good about it because I'm a USPSA bro. I mean, I've been shooting. My first match was in 1994. Okay, so I've been doing it for like a couple days, and I'm a huge believer in it and all that. I'm not all you USPSA bros out there. Don't get your panties all wadded up and stuffed someplace they shouldn't be. Okay, but It's good. It is a good training tool. It's a good feedback loop to see if what you're training on you are actually progressing on. Um, it's fun, and it is a good indicator of your skills based on your peers within USPSA. Yes. Okay. So it is good. It's good for that. All right. Um, it is not a one for one training replacement for law enforcement training, and that's where first thing we're gonna get into why performance based shooting, which is hit factor evaluated shooting, is extraordinarily good. USPSA shooting is not just hit factor shooting. It's an actual game. Okay. And the epiphany that I had, and I'll say that to start this out so you understand where I'm coming from and why some people go, oh, you changed your tune. I didn't change my tune. I don't have a tune to change. I try to do what makes the most sense. Okay. I was shooting a class fire match like 3 weeks ago, and a dude on my squad shot an absurdly, it looked like it was sped up in real time. Like you're standing there and somehow somebody sped him up. Unbelievably fast class fire. He hit a no shoot and he got a GM score. Okay. He hit a no shoot and he got a GM score. So that right there, I was like, wow, this is obviously distinctly skewed towards speed. If you could hit a no shoot and you still get a GM score, that's a thing. Okay. So that was the genesis about 3 weeks ago of me doing this. All right. And so what I started to think about is the bigger, broader picture, a bigger, broader context of how USPSA training has become all the hotness in law enforcement, where it succeeds and where it fails. Okay. First thing I want to do is separate. When I say USPSA training, a lot of guys, and it's usually, no offense to them, but it's usually younger guys that are into USPSA. They take that back to their department or agency, and you're effectively doing what you did at your match. You like shooting USPSA, which I like to do. You like setting up stages at your training, which I like to do. Okay, I'm in the same camp with you. Okay, in that regard, but the goal is for you to train people for something that is not USPSA. Okay, it uses the crossover skills. Okay, but it is not USPSA. And when we talk about USPSA, okay, when you frame it that way in your department or agency, your chiefs or any of the suits, whoever's in charge, department, agency, special agent in charge of your office, your SAC, whatever, as soon as they hear USPSA, what is the word that they will use?
Oh, that's a game, right? Yeah.
Yep. And it is a game because they're wrong on most of it, but what you've done is poison the well because you've told them that we want to practice with our officers with a game. And this is all tied together. The failed attempts at any widespread change in the culture, it's tied into this. When you present a game as training, which is what you're doing, and I've done it, I'm guilty of it too. Not anymore, but like when you present it as training, identical plug and play, pull one out and stick it in. That turns off the suits right off the bat, and I've seen it all over the country. I've seen it in agencies, all that. Okay.
I got a couple comments, Mike.
What?
One real quick. A guy was asking what classifier is it with
I
the
don't
no
fucking
shoot
know.
team.
I don't
You don't
fucking
know,
know.
yeah. And somebody else is like, main issue that paper targets don't shoot back. Okay, well that's what Sims was for, bro.
We're going to talk
So
just
yeah,
real quick. It doesn't matter
yeah,
what the classifier was. There were 6
yeah,
classifiers that day. I don't remember
yeah,
which fucking one
yeah.
it was because it took a while. It
Yeah.
took a little while to sink in. I was walking around going, how the hell did he hit a freaking no shoot? Like, how much faster was he than me? I'm in the 80s and he had a no shoot and he still had a GM. Like, and then when I was driving home, I was like, wow, man. Yeah, it is about speed. It's way more about speed than it is about accuracy. It's not about accuracy. Okay. But it is a lot more heavily focused on speed. Okay.
Right.
So
Which
it
in
is what it
it
is.
with the mission requirement or the
Mhm.
context, if you will use that term, is that no matter what you do, you can't overcome that. You hit a no shoot, you failed. You
Yeah.
lose. That's it. There has to be that penalty has to be present in training because you got to drive that through. right?
Yeah,
Not
that's
saying don't go fast. Let's not go in
no.
extremes here,
You're
right? You have to be extreme this camp or that camp. We're just saying, hey, it's not conducive to your mission requirement, right?
okay.
Hey,
So
y-
no, go ahead.
yeah, you hit a no shoot. And so if I was able to engage three bad guys, right, and I do a phenomenal job, 2 rounds each suspect, they go down, I save the day, but I had a stray and it hits a kid in a stroller, something like that, or it hits a person, right? They die. Nobody cares how fast it went down. I'm the guy who shot somebody. I shot the
Hmm.
kid, right?
Yeah.
That's a career ender, right?
Mhm.
That's a career ender. And you don't get to step away from that, right? And then if it's a justified shooting, you might stay on the department, but everybody knows for the rest of your career, you're the guy that shot somebody. You shot the kid, you shot the old lady, you shot whoever it was, right?
Hmm.
You shot a civilian, right?
Hmm.
You
There's
you
there is
you own
no
that for the rest of your life,
yeah
right?
there is no genuine penalty. No, like there's a point assessment against you. Okay. But there is no genuine penalty to shooting a no shoot. And you can outrun a no shoot and still win a stage. Shit, you can get a GM classifier. You can win the nationals shooting a no shoot. Okay. You can't successfully navigate an OIS hitting a no shoot. It's impossible. You can't do it. Okay. You cannot do it. And that's the whole point is that when you start looking at, at training that is modeled really directly after USPSA, um, training, okay, sport training, training for a game. Now you are normalizing hitting no shoots because that's how you go fast. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. In training, we're working on something. We're working on low percentage shots. We put no shoots up. This is the training piece. Okay, yeah, you're going to hit some no shoots. You are because you're trying to figure out what your pace is that you can engage at. Okay, I'm trying to look at this and go, how fast can I engage this? What am I capable of doing? Okay. That's the training piece. At the end of the day, you set up a stage, you set up a little course that's not 20 targets. It's not a freaking USPSA stage from the Nationals. And that's another thing that people do wrong. They set up these giant ornate stages, which are not necessary. You're better off having 3 small stages that are different, that work on different things, than having one giant stage. Whether you like it or not is immaterial. You're not training yourself. You're training your officers. Okay. At the end of the day, you set up, I would say 3 little courses of fire that work on 3 different things that you really want to focus on. If you hit a no shoot, you zero the stage. Poof, done. You're done.
That's it.
That is the testing phase. In the testing phase, okay, in the training phase, you're allowed to go fast. You're allowed to make mistakes. All of it. Got it. Okay. So everybody getting energized about that out there. And I know there's some people that already stopped listening. Start listening again. Okay. I get that on the training side. That's where you go fast. That's where you make mistakes. That's where you push it to failure. The difference is at the end of the day, the last thing you do is a street accountability shoot. You don't get to miss. You don't get to hit no shoots, period. You're zeroed out. You failed. Okay. And that is, to me, that is something that now we're not doing USPSA stuff because you don't fail. You can shoot a no shoot and be faster and be totally bitching and awesome. And you won. You beat everybody. You hit a no shoot and you were still super fast. And there's some guys that can do that. There are a lot of guys in departments that shoot sport that go there and can shoot a no shoot or have a miss. Okay. Don't forget a miss on a USPSA target. You can make it up. A miss on an actual officer involved shooting can be a no shoot. That can become a no shoot.
Yeah.
Like it's not,
the round doesn't disappear, right?
yeah, it doesn't just go away. And so
Travels
when
until
you,
it hits something.
yeah, and that's why it's like that's the point we're making. Hit factor is what makes USPSA and IPSC and PCSL and all that. That's what makes it a great thing. Okay, that's what makes it honest. Is that everybody is judged based on a mathematical representation of your efficiency. There is no real penalty in real life. There is a point assessment against you if you make a mistake. That's it. Okay. It's not a $2.5 million, wrongful death lawsuit. Okay. So
Right.
When you're training people to navigate that, understand that the stakes are infinitely higher for a law enforcement officer. And you have to train like that. You have to understand that. Okay. Um, so when we talk about when you start selling, you start using even the term USPSA. First of all the suits in the sheet go, it's a game. I'm not going to have my officers practice a game. If they know anything about it, if I were a chief, I could go, oh, so like you can shoot no shoots and you can just outrun them like that. There's no, how do you deal with that? And that's where when you look at the people that you're training, okay, let's look at um, let's look at the amount of people that shoot. There are about 600,000, I think it is, sworn officers in every state, federal, local, all that in the country. Okay, there are 35,000 people in USPSA. Okay, let's say altogether, which is like I have the percentage. It's not available to me right now, but it's less than if you took that and you took the number of people, it's 0.00, it's like 0.00017% of the population shoots USPSA. Okay.
Right.
So take that and then extrapolate that into law enforcement. You just don't have that many people that shoot USPSA or will shoot USPSA, and you can't mandate that. All you can do is integrate the best parts of that into your training. And we collectively, people that have been trying to change the culture, have failed at that. We have failed. Straight up.
Yeah, it's
Okay?
never going to happen. People
No.
take the job for different reasons, right? I recognize that. Not every person's going to be, I hate the term gun guy because, hey, you carry a gun for 10 or 12 hours a day. So by de facto, you are a gun guy now. But, people have, I know guys that have their kids in travel ball and all that stuff. They aren't going to have the money to do it, and they aren't going to do it, right? It's just not going to happen. So how do I get what USPSA does? It introduces, hey, this is how fast you can shoot and be accurate, right? And I have a 180-degree fan that I can shoot in, which you never get to shoot in most law enforcement ranges. So it introduces them to a bunch of things. I know they aren't going to go out and shoot matches. Maybe I can get a guy to shoot one a quarter, right? If they're kind of into it, right? Especially where I am, your 45-minute drive to get out to a range where you can do that on a Saturday. Most guys got kids, whatever. It's just not going to
Mm-hmm.
happen, right?
No.
You're going to have, 5 or 6 guys that go out every other weekend, right? Maybe once a month or something like that to get into a match. Ammo's expensive. There's a ton of excuses,
Yeah.
right? That being said, okay, they are excuses. They aren't going to go do it, right? So how do I structure my training, right, where I don't put a USPSA stage out when they're going to shoot, right? Like you have a combat shoot or you have a PSP, which is perishable skills training. That you have to have in California 4 hours every 2 years of firearms, right? So if I'm going to develop training, I'm not going to have USPSA stages that they shoot. Number one, it
Mm-hmm.
takes too long to run. If I have 50 officers I'm running through that day, you have a morning shift and an afternoon shift that you can shoot during range hours. They have a limited amount of time they can come out and shoot, right? So having each person run through a stage which introduces a ton of performance metrics. How fast are they moving in or out of position? How are they shooting around a barricade? That type of thing. They're doing a million things wrong. So I'm feeding them with a fire hose, right? They're drinking out of a fire hose where I could focus having a small stage, right? Have a hit factor on it, have some no shoots in it that I can correct a few small things, which are far more important than they'd get if I ran them through a stage, right? So you have what I would say with that type of training, you have a problem with setting it up. You have a time factor, and then you have the factor where if they don't have the baseline skills to run a stage, they're not going
Mm-hmm.
to get anything out of it. They're just going to
Yeah.
go, I suck. You're really fast. You're a range guy. You're a gun guy. Fuck this. Right? They're out of it. Excuse my
Here's,
language on that, but it's just that's
I
that's
will
the way,
not.
that's the reality. That's the reality.
I will not excuse your language, mister. Anyway, here's some. Let me back up something. Something that, and I've said it 1,000 times, and I've gotten away from it. Something that you said. Well, there's a million excuses why they don't go shoot. Truth is, there's no excuses. There's a reason, and the reason is they don't have to. That's
Right.
the reason. The
That's
reason
right.
is they have a family, they have limited funding, and they don't have to. So we get caught up, and it's a salient point. We get caught up as USPSA bros, whether you're a cop or a civilian guy like me that trains a lot of cops. Okay, well, you should do this, you should do that. Hey man, like I should be 5 inches taller and a lot better looking. I'm not. That's the way it goes, right?
Right.
So this idea that they're not making an excuse. There's no obligation, none. And so that has to be done at the in-service training level. Your department has to sign on to it. And here's a couple of things that I came out with that I jotted down in notes. Okay, LE systemic training failures and why they occur. First one, lack of value in pure marksmanship, on-demand skills. Okay, if you can't shoot just at any speed, if you can't shoot 5 rounds in an A zone, and we'll just say 20 yards, okay? If you can't do that consistently, then your marksmanship is not at a level that can be relied upon under stress to hit a full-size human at that distance. It's not, okay? And it's like there's not, we've made qualifications as a country. When I say we, mean the country itself. Our culture has made qualifications so easy. Okay, a lot of departments have gotten rid of the 25-yard stuff. There's stuff that was out to 50. I know Border Patrol used to go out to 50. Okay, they've made them easy marksmanship-wise to get people to pass instead of training them better. That is a problem. The lack of dedication to training outside of legal liability. These are things that I've experienced in talking to chiefs and SACs in charge of federal agencies and all that. Okay, they're outside of their legal liability. You have to take qualification to go 10A. Got it. Then they're covered. Hey man, he passed the qual. That covers them, and then they can go on to something else that to them is more pressing until there's a bad OIS and they have a $2.5 million or $10 million or $25 million lawsuit. Right? Okay.
The answer to that isn't going to be training. The answer to that is we don't want people to get into shootings.
Yes.
What led to that shooting, and how do we change our tactics?
How do we avoid it?
Right.
How do we avoid it?
Right.
Okay.
That's the easy answer.
Yeah. Here's another one in that list, and I'll let you run with it, Pat. Lack of historic cultural norm based on lack of leadership skill. Okay. There's a lot of chiefs out there, and there's a lot of leadership people in the federal agencies, and I have seen it and I have fought with it, who do not shoot well and don't even like to talk about shooting. They go to qualifications and they look like a dog shit in sand spurs. They're like, I got a qual. They don't shoot well. They don't like shooting because they don't shoot well. And so they're not supporting anything to do with shooting. They don't want to make it any harder than it already is because they can barely pass it. It's the truth. If you're the anomaly chief, and I know there's a couple of them in Texas that I know for sure, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to bring people's names up, that can bang. They're legitimately good, but that's not the norm at all. No. I know you had one of your guys from SWAT that's a dude like, hey man, he's a GM.
He's nationally ranked. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a nationally ranked GM. He's an anomaly. And he's still out there. He's retired and he's still out there shooting. Okay. Those guys are anomalies. They're out there. God bless you. Love you, man. But you're not the norm. You're not. No. So it's like historically leadership doesn't support it because they're not good at it. And they're going to vote to make the qualification that they hate taking harder on them. Okay. That's a problem.
Right. And real quick, if you want, Mike, and the way because I redeveloped the qual for my department, right? Went from a B-26 target, which I mentioned that to audience. Everybody's going to go, what's a B-26?
26.
Yeah. It's basically an old target that was kind of shaped like a silhouette. And then they took a B-8 target and then made the B-8 elongated to match the silhouette. And it really focused on accuracy, right? Time standards, there were none at 25. It was just take all the time you want. So that's not based in reality. And so the way I got it across to the bosses, and I think this will resonate with them, I go, hey, this qualification was developed, ours was developed back in the 50s for a revolver, right? And I said, our OISs, are they looked in the same manner now as they were in the 1950s, right? And we all know the answer to that. Of course not, right? So why are we holding them to a 1950s standard, right, on training when the standard in 2025, 2026 is light years away from that? Yeah. Oh, you're right. I go, yeah, we can't hold them to that standard anymore. We have to increase that training standard. And I had initially, I took data from this for about 3 years, 2 years for my department, and I had about a 20% failure rate, right, on the qualification. And I was like, that's acceptable, right? We need to train them to get better. A lot of them shot the qual. They'd come out and practice on their own, but it's mandated. If they don't pass that, they can't go on duty, right? So we were able to get that 20%, which pretty much any place they have 20% that are horrible, way worse than everybody. And so I was able to get them to pass the course, right? And that generally got whittled down over a year, and they were able to pass the course. What did they have to do? They had to have a better presentation out of the holster. They had to maintain that gun under recoil, right? Maintain their sights under a firing cycle, right? Having strings of 3 rounds, that type of thing, and then hit a larger bullseye, right? We're using a zone, USPSA metric, right? So they had to demonstrate, and then also a reload in the qual. So they had to demonstrate some baseline skills under the pressure of time, which helped them be a better shooter. Really, and what's the problem with 90% of your people that carry a gun on a police department? It's the baseline skills, how they grip the gun, how they present the gun, right? And
Mm-hmm.
are they able to control recoil in the pistol, right?
Yeah.
And so factoring in those with the qualification, hey, I was able to get them to level up a little bit, but I explained it to them by, hey, we can't have a standard that's not commensurate to what they're judged at if they get in a shooting. The training
Mm-hmm.
standard has to meet what they're being judged at when it happens in real life, right? And that's, I think, speaks to the bosses. Once they hear that, they understand that, like, yep, that makes sense to me, right? And that's how I think, at least for a department qual, training and quals are two completely different things, right?
Yeah.
But now you set the expectation with a qualification, and now I'll build the training around that, right?
Here's some experience that I had in the Air Marshal program. They act for the time when it first started, when the war first kicked off, before I started going overseas. They had one of the hardest qualifications in the country, as far as statistically it was.
Right.
And
You
we got
initially developed it,
yeah,
right?
I was part of that, and then we went on to a thing called the Mission Evaluation course, which was even MEC was even in a lot of ways was more difficult because it was more marksmanship centric. It was a legitimately good test. It was a 300-point test. It was actually good. We had everyone, okay, everyone had to pass it to fly, right? In my field office, every marshal shot it every month. Okay, they had back then you had 4 training days, or you had 4 flying days, um, a training day, and 2 days off. Okay. So it was a marksmanship centric organization. Okay. Early on. Now it's reverted back to just regular Fed, whatever. But we had people coming from everywhere. We had people coming from the FBI that had been in regional SWAT teams, and we had people coming from nowhere in Louisiana off of wheel guns. Okay. Everyone in that office could pass that qualification. It was harder than anything they had ever passed, but it was the norm, and it was supported by hire. Hey, if you're gonna fly and make the money that you make here, you got to be able to shoot. Period. And so that was a motivator. It, you can do it. It can be done. Okay, but it has to be supported by hire. That's the point. And to be supported by hire, it has to be sold by the range people. The range people have to convince hire that it's better for them. It makes them look good. It protects their job. It makes the organization look good. It protects them from liability. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. Because that's how all that stuff went through. And that's how we got our training budgets. Because like, hey, man, we can't do this without bullets. Without bullets, we can make you the jewel of the federal system when it comes to shooting. And truth be told, early on, we were. The Air Marshals in 2002, 2003, 2004, they were the jewel of the federal agencies. They could shoot damn good. All of the marshals in my office shot 1,000 rounds a month. Shot 1,000 rounds a month.
Wow.
Okay?
Talk
and
about
so it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so it's
more
like
than your regional SWAT teams for sure.
Yeah.
Probably around
so
FBR, HRT stuff right there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, because they had a specialized mission and all, I get it. But the bottom line is, literally, we changed the culture overnight because of a requirement. And people took pride in it. People that had a difficult time, guess what they did? They came in the freaking training office and said, hey, no, man, I'm worried about this qual. Can I go up and shoot with you? Can I practice with you? Anytime. Coming on their days off, because it's money now. Now you don't fly. If you don't fly, then you get base pay. You lose your leap and all that stuff. Law enforcement accessibility pay. Yeah. Now it's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
But it can change. But the key to it all was that the leadership signed on to it. They're like, yes, this is a good thing. It makes us look good. It minimizes liability, all that stuff. Okay. Here's something too this ties back to the USPSA style training. It's something that we're going to talk about a little more coming up. From my experience, and Pat, you chime in from yours, one of the biggest drawbacks that I see when I'm dealing with just regular officers, not specialized units and all that, dope guys or SWAT guys, is, gun handling skills. Draws are abysmally slow. Reloads are horrific, and they're done a different way every time.
Yep.
Like just basic gun handling skills are so poor that they can't support good marksmanship. And from having trained people for a long ass time all over the world, and I've said it before, from conscripts with a second grade education to Huntington Beach soccer moms to JSOC people, okay? The foundation of every good shooter is good gun handling skills. And when you're taking newer shooters or less experienced shooters and you're training them, the first thing you train on is not marksmanship, it's gun handling. They have to be able to manage the gun safely and be confident in it in order to hear you talk about marksmanship. If they're worried about which button makes the thing go boom and they don't want to do it the wrong time because, freaking Sergeant so-and-so is going to bite their ass off, like, they're not going to be listening. All they're going to be trying to do is minimize the chance of them making a mistake.
Getting yelled
so they
at.
can,
Yep.
Yes, they don't get yelled at. And so we don't put, we meaning the collective training space when it comes to law enforcement, because I'm part of that. I spend most of my time is training Ellie with Pat. Okay. Yep. There is a abysmal lack of gun handling skills. Okay, it's really bad. When we go out and shoot, courses out of a level 3 rig, 1.5 seconds is not hard. Out of a level 3 with a rotating head and all that, we're doing. Last time Pat was up here, we're doing sub 1.5s at 20 on an A zone plate. Okay, it's not that hard to do. It shouldn't be really, any different. But the emphasis is not put on that. And the answer is not to get rid of the rotating hood. The answer is to learn how to use it properly. And it's not, if you're a SWAT guy, I get it. And you just run a level 2 because you got a rifle and you got a whole team with you. I got it. But a street guy, you should never be running anything without a freaking rotating hood. Because when you start rolling around on the ground, shit gets weird, hands get grabby. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's not that much of a hindrance to have. It's really not. It's just a training issue, right? Safariland hasn't changed the design of their holster, and I don't know how long. I think there's some that are better out there now. I think, what is it? Blade Tech has that good one. Those guys in Alameda had that.
Valor, I think
Valor, yeah. Blade Tech does a sweet looking holster. And it was pretty quick, and it's a level 3. But regardless of whatever your agency issues, that's what they issue, right? You got to be good at it. And then if you're the range guy or you're in charge of training or you're developing training, you have to focus on that, right? And you got to know how to draw from that really well and then beat that into those guys. When I have my first academy class that ran through when I was running the range, when they weren't doing anything, right? And this went back to my days in the Marine Corps, right? Hey, you're snapping in, right?
Yep.
So I had pieces of friggin' tape on a wall and they're drawing out of their holster and bring the gun to that target. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep drawing, drawing, right? And then you have to be on top of them like a gnat, right? Like correcting everything on that draw. So when they draw and they're under stress of the timer, which are going to be on a combat course that they have to shoot once a quarter, right? That's not it's not a conscious thought for them. They're able to get that gun out of the holster without like, oh shit, I'm going to push this down, slide it forward, 3 motions to get the gun out of the holster, right? They're able to do it. And that's what you got to recognize those things. And we do it all the time in our classes, right? I'm not going to go USPSA style. You got to run through this stage when I have guys that don't have gun handling skills. I'm like, dude, you need to work on your draw.
That becomes a safety issue.
In this class. Yeah. Like sometimes, hey, this class is a little advanced. I mean, when we were in Alameda, we had 2 guys that were in the rifle class, which was pretty damn advanced because most of them were SWAT guys out there with a base understanding, a good level of firearms handling, right? Weapons handling. And we had 2 guys that hadn't gone through a department sanctioned AR-15 course before.
Yeah.
Right? Fortunately, one of them was a Marine who was also like a gymnast. So the guy knew how to move. He was athletic, right? Had some understanding of the weapon. And then another guy who was a hunter or something like that. And he shot a bunch of ARs. So they were okay for that class, but they had the base weapon handling skills that were there. They weren't unsafe with the weapon. And it was just refining them on that. But if they don't have that, they can't jump into this next thing, right? They can't do it, right? And so, yeah, I can develop a stage for them to run through, but it's like, teaching, we were talking earlier, a 16-year-old how to rev match when they're downshifting with a manual, right? What are you talking about, right?
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's to teach them that, or to give them USPSA stuff, that a USPSA style stage, when they're at that level, it's not what they need. That's the thing. Like people do, well, they need to be exposed to, high level marksmanship and all that and how fast you can go. I get it. I'm on board. The bottom line though is, like you said about rev matching, they're not there yet. They need to figure out okay, this is the brake and this is the clutch and this is the gas. This is how I start on a hill. Like There's like, and I hear a lot of people, well, they need to be exposed to that. No, they don't actually. They don't need to be exposed to that yet.
If my
They
job
need
is to
they
train
need
them,
trained.
yeah,
Yes.
my job is to train them. My job is to get you better. I'm going to look at your skill level and I'm going to develop something that you get better at. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for a department with people with the vastly different skill
Mm-hmm.
set, right? I'm going to have to tailor one where I can have a course of fire that it's challenging for really good shooters and it's
Mm-hmm.
challenging for ones that don't have base weapons handling skills, right? They
Yeah.
aren't good enough. And it's usually a short course of fire, right, where I can introduce some stuff in it. Hey, you're shooting around a barrier on this one. Hey, you have no shoots over here. Maybe I can put a couple of those, and the maximum amount of rounds I'm going to shoot is maybe 2 mags, right? Whatever we have. And usually it's a load like, hey, 10 in this mag, 10 in the other mag, 5 in this mag,
Mm-hmm.
10 in this one, right? I'm making sure their mags function properly. I have a decent amount of rounds they have to shoot, right? Maintain the dot, the firing cycle, that type of thing. But they're not running through a stage, right? They're not running through a stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are no shoots out there, and all of our, not that my department is anything special, they certainly aren't, right? Um, I would say on when there's no shoots present, if you hit a no shoot, that's a fail no matter what. You
Mm-hmm.
failed, right? And
Yep.
you get 2 times to run through the course. The second time, if you fail, hey, I run you through a third time, you're just going to fail again. We're wasting our time. You need to remediate and come back another day,
Yeah.
right? And that's the way to do it. But they're not getting, hey, you had a really blazing time. You hit the no shoot on that. So we're docking some points from you. That doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't miss the mark on that. It does miss the mark. And when you develop a culture around that, hey man, this guy's really cool. He's like one of the, you have younger officers that look up to officers that have been on for a long time or are skilled in firearms, what have you, right? They'll look up to those officers. And if I'm just concerned about blazing speed the whole time and I'm hitting
Mm-hmm.
no shoots, then that's okay for them, right?
Yeah.
I'm at a blazing speed. I hit a no shoot. I'm like, hey man, doesn't matter how fast I want to hit a no shoot.
Yeah.
Right. I'm done. I
Yeah.
fucked that one up.
You do.
Zero.
You got to understand that like what you're presenting has to be of value to the department. And in order to give something of value to the department, it has to be of value to the individual shooter. You don't train people the way you like to train or your hobby or any of that. And
Right.
that's another huge problem. People do what they like to do because they like to do it.
Yep.
One. Two, people want to show off in front of their peers. Okay.
Right.
They want to go out there and be all badass and bitching and everything. Okay, I got it. That's human nature. Get over it.
Yep.
You're an armed professional. Your job at the range is to train other people to be above baseline competence, not
Yep.
just competent enough to go 10-8. You want them to go like, do you want them to respond to a guy with a gun in a grocery store that your wife or daughter or girlfriend or brother or mom might be in? Okay, like you've got to look at it that way. Is that, and I'm taking this from my bro Gabe at Long Beach, or not Long Beach, but
Orange County. Yep.
Orange County Sheriffs, because he said it in a podcast, and he was spot on. Who do you want to respond when your wife or your daughter or your girlfriend or your mom or dad or your aunt or uncle is in trouble? Okay, that's who you're training. You're training it for civilians, and you're training it for you because you ain't everywhere. So take it a little more personally, okay? And also understand those people aren't you. They're not like, they don't spend the weekends playing with guns. They're not sitting at a desk with freaking guns everywhere on there because they're a freaking gun weirdo like me. Okay,
Yep.
that's not their game. Okay, they're out spear fishing or they're out bass fishing or they're doing whatever. They're hunting or they're hiking or they're freaking collecting stamps. I don't know, whatever they do. But the bottom line is, you train them the way they need to be trained, and that is something that I see a lot. I see a lot of guys that want to do stuff that they like to do. One.
Yep.
Two, I see people that want to train people the way they like to train, which is immaterial. You're not part of this. Your job is not to train you or train people like you. It's to train people to do their job better. Okay. And the third
Yep.
one, and this is something I see a lot, and I especially see it with younger dudes that are really into USPSA. Stop trying to show off for the friggin' class. Everybody knows you're good. Okay.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if something's there and you're running a stage, go through and burn it down. Do it clean.
Everybody on
Okay.
your department knows who you
Knows.
are,
Yeah.
right?
Do
If
it.
you're a
If you do
range
it.
guy or a SWAT guy,
Yeah.
everybody knows who you are,
Do a
right?
demo that's good, but do a
Right.
demo that's as close to technically perfect as you can.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter when they look at you shoot, they have no idea what good even really is. It looks really good compared to them because they're not that good. So stop that. I've seen it a bunch. And it's like you end up, one, you make mistakes, which look bad. And two, it's unnecessary. You're giving them an unrealistic pace for them. And they're going to try to mirror it. And they're going to think, well, the goal is to go really fast. That's not the answer. Okay. That is not the answer.
Your goal is to go as fast as you possibly can while being under control, right?
Exactly. Okay.
You know,
Here's a couple things. Resistance to USPSA style training, and we've kind of we covered it, but there's like a little checklist here. I like to make
yep.
sure to
Hey,
keep the
Mike,
structure.
there's a couple guys that raised some
Okay.
questions. I have
Here,
Steve Collins. He
Steve.
said, "What should my son's a highway patrolman? What should he bring back to patrol to make some significant change?" Right. Well, highway patrol, I know what they're focused on. Right. Hey, you know what? I think what they should focus on, what highway patrol guys should focus on, they should focus on gun handling skills, right? That's 90% of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's dry fire. You can do this. It's easy to do, but I would say dry fire cures most of the problems, and then you can test that
Yep.
out there.
Yep.
But get them to focus on dry, especially CHP. They're all over the state. They got different ranges they're using and contracts with agencies and all that stuff. So they don't have a lot of time to get out to the range. Dry fire. That's what I would bring to patrol. Right,
Yeah.
the importance
Yeah.
of that, and that's not
Yeah.
something that's really ingrained in law enforcement culture at all.
Yeah.
Right. In the academy, that was kind of like a Marine Corps thing, and a little bit of USPSA when I first came on the department. Hey, man, I remember snapping in. Right. Okay, that's dry fire. Right. We're
Yep.
doing the same thing. It's out of a holster with a handgun, though. So
Mm-hmm.
bring anything to patrol. Dry fire. Getting them comfortable with a gun, getting them quick on their reloads, quick on their presentations, and quick out of the holster.
Big.
Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, CHP just from the outside looking in, like if someone, I would say you're doing traffic stops. You're doing
Yep.
tons and tons and tons of freaking traffic stops. Your draw should be money. Your
Yep.
draw, and that's dry fire. That is just literally 10 minutes a day. If I were Chippy, I would be dry firing out of my rig in my freaking garage every night and every morning before I went. 10 minutes when I get home, 10 minutes in the morning. 20 minutes a day is actually a lot for that. You can get 200, 300 draws. You should be Johnny on the spot with that thing, because that's the first shot off the draw is going to be critical in a traffic stop that goes bad. I mean, you can look at BWC and see that. Okay, you have to be quick. You can't bobble it. So that's going to be the most important thing. Next is going to be the ability to shoot rapidly under control, and it's going to be relatively short ranges because you're not 100 yards away or 50 yards away or 20 yards away. You're walking right up to a vehicle. So these are things. Look at the most likely engagement ranges and what that's going to require historically. Look at the OISs and say, listen, most of these shootings go on during traffic stops, and most of them are at short distances and are extremely fast. So it's going to put a premium on gun handling and speed out of the holster.
That's
So
it. Yep. Agreed.
Here's another one. This goes back regarding calls. This is LB Chambo 31.
Yeah.
I'm thinking LB is what I think it is. But anyway,
Yeah.
regarding quals par
Times.
yeah. Giving so we say giving a limit of 2 attempts a day, motivating people to practice this. But the only thing that motivates people historically, you look at from psychology. Okay, what motivates people is fear of punishment. I hate to say it. Fear of punishment, fear of loss. I get punished or I lose money.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so
a negative motivator. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but it is the truth. There's only a handful of people out there that want to excel because they want to excel. Okay. And that's mostly guys like us trying to go, hey, we want you to do, why don't you want to be as much better as I want to be as much better for me? Because we're different. And it's like, that's why it goes back to what I said. The system has to enforce that. The system has to say, our training is going to make you get better. We're not going to make it a minimum standard, then not enforce it anyway, and still coddle you along. The system has to say, listen, we will not tolerate a lack of firearms proficiency. How does that get done? The range guys, okay, have to sell to hire. How they're going to do that to make hire look better. And it's not, don't ever say, stop saying the word USPSA. Stop saying sports shooting. Just say performance-based shooting, because that's what it is. Because the performance metric is hit factor. And that's a huge, to me, that's a huge thing that we do wrong. Stop referencing a game when you talk to people about a job where people get shot pretty frequently, okay?
Yeah.
Where it's not a game. Every time you say that, every chief that's not a USPSA shooter goes, oh, geez,
Oh,
this
geez.
isn't a game.
And then they go, oh, here's the range guy that shoots on the weekends all the time. He's a
Yeah,
PSA bro. Here we go. Right. We all need to be like him. And they know it's not going to happen. And kind of what Chambo's getting at is
yeah,
typically a lot of agencies do that. Hey, you failed 2 times at the qualification. We'll keep shooting, right?
yeah.
And you're going to pass one. And yeah, they will. And get a friggin' 81% that's passing score. And then, okay,
Hmm.
you're good. Go out to the field now. That's not the answer, man. Hey, you failed twice. You got to remediate, man. Go
Yeah.
back. Like any testing in any academy or anything like that, right? And you should have a little bit of a failure rate
Mhm.
on a qual on a department. There
Yeah.
should be people that fail because if there aren't, then it's not a qualification anymore.
No,
It's a check
just
in the
check the
box.
block. Yep,
Yep.
that's all.
And
That's
so
all.
they have to be comfortable with accepting that, and it's going to cause
Mhm.
more work for the range staff. That's
It's
okay. That's your job.
the thing that always spooks them, and I watched it with the Air Marshal program when we went to the MEC, and it actually got harder than the TPC. Is there's a jump in people that don't pass it.
Yep.
There is. There's a
Yep.
jump right away. If you just gut it out and push through it, and this is something that you have to explain as a range guy to hire. We're going to, before it ever happens, we're going to have a bump initially when it changes. That's just the way it is when you change any standard. We will get them to the same pass rates, but a higher level of proficiency. And this is how.
Yep.
That's what you have to sell. If you don't have any solutions to them before they ask the questions that you know they're going to ask, then you screwed yourself. Then you're going to get jack and shit at the same time. They're going to go,
Yep.
nope, we're staying with the old qual.
And that's what I had with mine. I had a 20% failure rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the union had to look at this, the higher ups had to look at this, right?
Yep.
And I like, hey, we eventually got them and they let me remediate with them. Go, hey, bring them out again. We'll let them remediate, right? And they all got better and they got to the standard. But they had to focus on a couple things. Hey man, we're putting a premium on speed. And it's not even, it's a qual, so it's not difficult at all,
Yeah.
right? It's a D class shooter, right? So but it brought them up to a high level. It brought the low ones up higher, is what it did,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so that was the goal, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's the way training's got to be, right? I'm not going to train to the lowest common denominator, right? But I'm going
No.
to try to tailor my training, recognize who that low common denominator is, and know what they need to learn, right? This is what you need to be taught, right? And
Yeah.
so focus on that, right? Instead of the fire hose thing. Um,
No.
and it's like guys are making comments. It's weird to know how many people carry a gun for work and don't have a relationship with their firearm. Yes, true. I've where I'm working, like in a detective division, these guys don't go out to the field that much, right? But they're really good investigators. Like every system, they know it. Hey, that's what they do, right? I'll get them to a level that they can, that's reasonable, right? And that's just a fact of, it's just a fact of life. That's the way it is, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have that with every agency, right? And it's not a special ops unit. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not Delta where they're all assaulters. Okay, that's not it. I got dudes that are investigators. Do I want to
Yeah.
lose that guy off to my apartment who's a friggin' fantastic investigator because he's not an A class shooter? No, you know,
Yeah.
that's what we have SWAT guys for and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, anyhow,
Yeah.
yeah,
Here's some other stuff and this, now we're going to start talking about, well, first thing, kind of sum up a couple things. One, back to the beginning, the culture change has, or the attempts at changing culture have been a failure because we collectively, everybody trying to participate in it and contribute to that hasn't been doing it the right way. Because if we were doing it the right way, it would have changed. We would have found
yep,
the answer. There's an answer out there. We just haven't found it yet. And I'm trying to figure out what that answer is because the approach we're using is not working. All right, so that's what it is. Now, leadership. Every time they hear USPSA, they don't hear the acronym. They don't hear the letters USPSA. USPSA. They hear GAME. They hear
yep,
game. That's what they hear. So stop saying it. Performance-based shooting. What does that mean? Hit factor. Why is hit factor good? If you're a range guy and you can't sit in front of a freaking bunch of chiefs and higher ups and all that shit and explain to them what hit factor is, you're
yep,
delinquent. Okay? It is a metric that calculates your shooting efficiency. In sports shooting, it's points per second. In combative shooting on the street, it's how effectively you can transfer energy to that suspect to stop him from doing what he's doing, which is so egregious that you can use force that may include his demise to stop him. He's doing something so bad that you can use force up to and including deadly force to stop him from doing that. Okay, got it. That is written in one way or another in every use of force freaking policy in the country. I know.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's a ballistic seizure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to explain to them what that the hit factor does that. Now you also have to modify the scoring to reflect the reality of the liability you face. Okay. A zone's a 5. Okay. Just take the standard USPSA. A zone's a 5. C zone's a 3. Okay. A D is a no penalty miss. Okay. Because on me, I mean, I'm like a little over 5'8" and 180 pounds. A D zone is like nicking my freaking love handle. That's about it. Okay. That doesn't count. That's not where you were aiming. You're aiming a foot away. That's considered a no penalty miss. You get 0 points. You don't get penalized because you're still connected, but you don't get any points. Okay. A no shoot is instant fail, an instant fail. Okay. That you just zeroed out. Poof. I don't care what you did. You get no. I wouldn't even read them their score. I would. Well, but how did I do without the no shoot? What was my time? It was 0. It was 0 because you shot the wrong person.
Whole pop on the white target. Done.
Done.
Holster up, bro.
Yep. And what you're doing is what you are doing is enforcing that whole thought process. It doesn't matter what your time is. You don't get a time. I'm not going to give you a time because your time is 0.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So change the scoring and brief that to higher. Listen, we understand.
Right, nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
There you go. That's what you're going to hear on the range from me and Pat.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's the whole thing is that you have to brief to them the answers to their most pointed questions before they ask them. Okay, somebody's going to know about it. Someone in that room is going to know, oh, I shot a match and I know. So you could shoot a no shoot and you just only get penalized for a couple points? No, sir. Actually, what we did is we changed the scoring to match the liability on the street. Say, listen, if you hit a no shoot, you fail. You failed that. And so back to the training piece, when we're training, as in we're doing drills and we're trying to get faster, hey, you can hit no shoots. You can I get it. You're not supposed to, but it happens. We're trying to get you to see how fast you can go and what your skills really are. What shots can you be confident to make? Now, the validation in training structure, proper training structure, at the end, you set up a couple small stages. Those are no fail. You don't get to shoot no shoots. Okay. You don't. So again, you can assess just a 10-point penalty for a miss that's off paper. I mean, I still think that one's up for, that one's, it's a little dicey, but it's not a no shoot. So we'll just stick with that to make it simple. Okay. A D is no points. You get nothing. Yeah. You broke paper. It's a no, we call in sports shooting, we just call it a no penalty miss. Okay. That's basically what it is.
And if you have one like that and you want to set something up, or if you have a miss, then you can go with like a Virginia count, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, you went way over. All right.
Yeah.
You
can't make it up. Okay.
Yep.
Virginia count means you can only shoot a specified number of rounds. So if it's 2 rounds per target and you got a hit and you got a miss because you left too early, which I did 2 days ago on a steal. But anyway, that's a different story. You don't get to make it up. And so we come back, we're like, hey, you had 1 off target. We do a Virginia count. You can only fire 2 shots per target. It's easier to keep track of and score and keep accountability on. Okay. But there's got to be a penalty when you are shooting at a pace that you can't sustain in an evaluation event. In the training piece, balls to the wall, man. Get after it. Do what you.
Yep.
Yeah. But when we actually test you at the end, we have to know that you can go from that. You can freaking tap the brakes a little bit and go, now I can't miss because that's going 10-8. Now you're on the street. Okay. Training is to get you ready to go on the street. So now that transition starts when you go from the training piece where, hey, make all the mistakes you want. No shame. That's what we're here for. Now we're going to test and see if you can control yourself at the pace that you think you can.
Yep.
Okay.
And to go back on the miss, Mike, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, that's kind of funny. To go back to the miss, like when we're talking, we put this through AI, right? And it kind of gives a good answer. It says a miss means the active threat is still functional and potentially firing back, compounding the danger every fraction of a second. And that's absolutely right. Hey, you missed it, right? You missed it. Now the danger increases, right? You didn't hit the target. You get
Yeah.
shot back at, right? So the threat's not neutralized, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you're going to pay a time penalty generally for that. But the bigger issue is, hey, you're not accountable for that round, all right?
Yeah.
It went to an area you're not accountable for it, right? Didn't hit the,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um,
Yeah. It's it's here's the deal. You got to have genuine accountability that as best as you can, it's never going to reflect you missing in an actual OIS. Okay,
factors,
which
yeah. We're not
if it
trying to
doesn't, if you
recreate
miss
that.
and it doesn't hit, if you miss and it doesn't injure someone, it's going to be somewhat transparent. If you miss and it turns into a no shoot, then it's not. But the bottom line is you have to annotate. Hey, you had one off target, man. That's not cool. Like, yeah, you didn't hit a no shoot, but that's only because of the way this was structured. That could
Yep.
have been a no shoot. There's got to be a level of accountability that requires controlled marksmanship, right?
Yep.
And so it's like it has to be a separate event from the training piece because you have to push to failure in training. I get that. That's how high performance shooting is done. Okay. If every time you pull the trigger, the bullet goes exactly where you want, you're going way, way, way too slow in training. When you shoot in a match, the bullets should be going exactly where you want them to go, exactly like as you expect, just like when you go on the street. Okay, when you're 10-8, every bullet should go exactly where it's supposed to go. The difference is you have no margin for error when you're 10-8. You don't. You shoot a no shoot at a USPSA match, nobody cares. Half your squad doesn't even know. Okay,
Yep.
you shoot a no shoot on the job, that's a huge deal. And
Yep.
so you
And
have to act completely differently in the way you score and evaluate and hold officers accountable.
Yep. Yeah. And, Mike, you were talking about how do you change the culture on that? Hey, we failed on it. Well, I don't know if this is the answer, but peer pressure is always a big thing, right? And being looking bad in front of your peers, you wouldn't believe how many cops are scared of that, right? They're terrified of it,
Oh,
right? I
dude.
have like deputy chiefs that have been on the department 25 some odd years, and they're friggin' scared to go out to the range. And they've told me, like, dude, I get nervous every time I come out here, right?
That's
Because
just
I suck. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay, that's, you can solve that, but you're busy doing whatever and you don't want to do that. Okay, that's fine. But what we would do is rank people. So we'd have a hot sheet kind of up there and everybody up at the top, we'd rank people. Hey, who was the best shooter on this? Right. And have their hit factor score up there or their percentage. Right. And so that was like, and I saw guys coming, oh, dude, so and so beat you. They beat you. You were better. Oh, fuck, I want to run through that
yeah.
again. Yes, now I'm getting some out of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guys are more like, let me run through it again. Let me run through it again. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, run through it again. We'll let you run through it again, right?
Yep.
But they were motivated to do it, and it turned into a competition with guys, and so that. With the rules there, hey man, you hit the no, you blazed on that, but you hit the no shoot, fail, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, shit, let me run through it again. So
Yeah.
that did change the culture a little bit. Just sorry,
Mm-hmm.
picking up something here. Yeah, is ranking people against their
Well,
peers,
listen,
right? Which goes into USPSA stuff. You're ranked against your peers,
mm-hmm.
right? Um,
there's a site from the psychology side of it,
yeah,
which I studied in school. People are more afraid of being embarrassed or shamed than physical injury.
correct.
Literally,
Yep, you're
statistically, they
right.
are
Yeah,
more afraid of
yep,
being embarrassed in front of their peers.
yeah,
So you don't want to make somebody feel like a freaking piece of shit. But you know what? Put a leaderboard up on. Hey, guess what? This guy was the number one. I'll use him because I just saw his name in there. Gabe was the number one shooter. Okay,
yep.
and then Mike was number two, and then you go all the way down, and Will was the last guy. Nobody wants to be the last freaking guy.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
so nobody has to say anything, but he knows when you look through the pages, on the roster, you go, all the way at the bottom is me. Then
yep.
people want to change, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
so it's like you can do it without saying a word. Just go, hey man, the leaderboard will be out there. It'll be up, and everybody wants to know if they won. Everybody
oh yeah.
does,
We
whether they
posted
say
right
it
in
or
the
not.
range, right by the front door in a
Yeah,
little glass case, and we had new SWAT guys there. I'm like, dude, patrol guys kicked your ass on this last.
yes,
There's a bunch of them that beat you. What the hell? What's going on,
yeah,
bro? I mean,
mm-hmm.
maybe we need to take another look at this. Big motivator. Then all of a sudden they're out training on their own, all that type of stuff. Hey, I want to shoot a
Oh
match
yeah,
this week, right? It
mm-hmm.
was the shame, right? And there's nothing wrong with a little shame. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with it.
No,
People should be right. Hey, this is your job, man. Like this is the point of delivery. Like you do
sure,
this well, you might do it on this. You might have an OIS in your career, or you might not, or you might have a bunch. I don't know, but whatever it is, that's going to be a stamp on the rest of your career,
mm-hmm.
right? And so you perform
Yep.
well, you perform like crap. Well, that's your name signed on it, and everybody knows about
That's
it.
who you are.
Yep,
That's who you
that's who
are.
you are, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
here's
I was the most bitching USPSA shooter, shot every weekend, and then I freaking gotten an OIS, and I stressed out, and I hit a no shoot. I hit somebody, right? I hit a kid. That's
can't.
all anybody remembers you for now.
Yeah.
That's
Just
it.
here's the key. Is like get. I love sports shooting. I love it. I shoot all the time. I've done decent. I I've been shooting for a long time. It's fun. I like it. Okay, got it. I'm not against it. I'm saying when we're talking about systemic changes, they have to come internally because you can't require people to shoot competitively. You have to figure out a way to get that integrated into your in-service training. And the only way you're going to do that is if range guys can explain it. Okay, here's what some of the bullet points I have. Okay, leadership believes it's a game. That's true because USPSA is a game. This is when you talk about USPSA. Okay, leadership believes it's unsafe. That's not true. It's only as unsafe as you running the range. If you're an unsafe, range freaking cadre,
Yep.
then it's unsafe. Okay, this is the one that's going to kind of stink for some guys, and I know I know there's at least one dude watching this, and a couple that are really good at this. So you're not included. But a lot of guys that I've seen, okay, a lot of guys that I've seen that fall in this category. Most training and range instructors don't know how to structure the range drills outside of mirroring IG drills that they've seen or match experience. They just take what somebody else did and it's like, oh, that's badass, and they do that. They're not tailoring drills for their people because this is what their people need. Okay.
Yep.
And that is someone that likes to shoot, but actually doesn't know that much about shooting, or actually doesn't know that much about shooting, doesn't know that much about training. Okay,
Right.
you've got to know how to structure training. You have to look at it and go, what do they need? How do I structure a program for a day? They're coming in for the day for their their in service, their perishable skills. How am I going to structure this to get the most out of it based on historical deficiencies that I have seen? Okay, and then structure it to get the most amount of good training that they can get. Okay,
Short
in that
period of
one day.
time.
And what was it?
Yep.
4 hours?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So no chatty. Get your freaking gun on, okay? And if you're standing around, okay, and all you got is 4 hours, if there's going to be at least a minimum of two guys out there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't imagine any less. So guess what? If Pat and I are out there and Pat's setting something up, what am I doing? I'm monitoring dry fire while they're waiting. Nobody's standing around. You're dry firing. I don't care if all you're doing is drawing. You're just drawing, going back to the holster, drawing, going back to the holster, whatever. You are touching that gun and you're managing it the entire time for 4 hours. Your hands should be freaking hurting when you get done at the end of that because you only got 4 hours. I'm going to get every drop I can out of you. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Not
And then
standing around where they load ammo. They're all BS and all that stuff. We've
no,
seen it a million times.
you only got
Right.
4 hours, man. You've got to, if you can demonstrate that you can get a ton of performance out of them, even in that 4 hour block, higher up is going to listen. They're going to go, wow. They're actually, our qualification rates are getting higher. And they based on the par-time driven qualifications, if your gun handling is good, you'll do good. You'll have way more time to shoot if you can get the gun out faster. All right. And here's most training and range instructors lack the ability to explain and field questions on what performance-based shooting is and why hit factor is infinitely better than the standard and very forgiving fixed time courses of fire. Okay. You have to understand hit factor. You have to understand what it means. Okay. And you have to be able to explain to hire, this is why it is best for the department or agency. Okay. This is why it's going to make us better. It's going to minimize liability. It's going to maximize officer survivability. Okay. It's going to make you look better. It's going to make the department look better. It's going to make the officer look better. Okay. And we have the solution. We took it from high performance shooting on the game side and we've modified it for our needs, and it's going to make us better and it's going to make you look better. It's going to make the department look better.
Absolutely.
If you are not selling it to make them look better and to make the department look better before it's fucking bitching and badass and fun, you're going to fail. I'm telling you right now. You have to be capable of selling that. It's not a hard sale. It's easy to quantify. But you have to know how to present it. Right?
And all the bosses have been in there and OIS debriefs, right? A shooting review board. They've all been in there. They know how fast these develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to explain to them, you see the qualification course, you see the quarterly combat shoots that we do. They are not factoring in this compressed amount of time they have to deal
Yeah.
with. Yeah, you're right. Right. I never thought of that. We just kind of go out to the range and shoot the qual and then I get to leave. I'm like, no, I got to test them at this level. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or somewhere close to that level. Right.
Yeah.
And there has to be a time factor in it. And that's where USPSA comes because that's it puts a premium on speed. However, I don't want that to be the whole metric, right? Yes, I got to have a premium on speed. Absolutely, right? There's just a massive penalty for hitting a no shoot, right?
Yeah.
That massive penalty is you fail,
Yeah.
right?
And
Um,
that is why if you remember one thing, some of you guys that are working ranges are doing it. Stop saying USPSA. Stop saying
yep.
sports shooting. Say performance-based shooting. Okay. Or I call it operationally based performance shooting. That's what it is.
Yep.
It is operationally based. We're basing it on operational requirements, and it's performance shooting because it uses hit factor, and hit factor is the metric for efficiency, which is performance. So it is operationally based performance shooting. That is what you should be. Don't say USPSA because USPSA is a game, and it is. It is a game. And if you can hit a no shoot and still have a GM score and a classifier, it's a game. Okay. And that's their big thing. That is everyone here that's listening that has briefed it. Look, oh, well, USPSA is just a game. And they're right.
They're right.
They're
It
right.
is.
Sucks to hear it because I love shooting USPSA. I think it's freaking cool. It's a freaking
Right.
ton of fun.
Yeah.
Running around like a freaking madman blazing. I love it.
Yep.
Bottom line is it's a game. It is a game. And I can tell you from my experience in the universe that when you can't, like when shooting the wrong thing is instantly catastrophic to your career, okay? It changes what pace you are willing to shoot at. You will not shoot at the same pace you shoot at a match. Maybe close, but you will not shoot at the same pace. And anyone who says they will can kiss my ass in the town square. You're lying because you won't. Because you won't, because it's not worth it. You are shooting at the fringes of control in a match, chasing a timer. Okay?
Yep.
If you shoot at the fringes of control for an operational job, you're running the risk of killing someone who isn't supposed to be killed.
You're not going to. Yeah.
No, you're not going to do it. So it's like, just stop that. Stop saying, well, they got to learn how to go fast.
Unless you panic fire, which we've seen a bunch of times.
We've seen too.
Where cops are
But
scared to death, and so they panic fire.
The point is, you have to modify your scoring, and you have to understand as a USPSA bro. One, stop saying USPSA in training. Stop it. It doesn't serve any purpose. Okay. It's like, it's a bullshit flex. Look at USPSA, like I shoot on the weekends. I don't give a fuck. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay. The people you want to help, that you really need to help, the guys that go and shoot with you in matches, they're already on board, bro. They're already in it. Or the girls, there's chicks that shoot it. They're on board. Okay. Yep. It's the ones that don't know anything about it and don't care. Those are the ones that you are trying to reach. Okay. You don't have to sell, USPSA to the people that already do it. So don't even say it. And it's not what you want to be teaching to your officers. You want to teach them operationally based performance shooting, things that make sense to them. I don't need a stage with 12 targets and 3 pieces of steel and a swinger and all that shit. That is a silly thing to put up in a police training day. It is silly unless you're training your whole bunch of guys to go shoot, or gals or whatever, to go shoot a match. Otherwise, you're better off having 3 smaller stages that focus and isolate on specific possibilities, a traffic stop stage, an active shooter stage, whatever. And then you can run 3 groups through, one after another, score them all, reset them, and then another 3, 1, 2, 3, run them. Now you're getting way more training that is operationally based. They can look at that stage and go, it's a drill, basically is what it is. Not a stage. A stage is an amalgamation of a bunch of different skill requirements. And if you shoot competitively, you see what that is. There's long shots, there's short shots, there's low percentage shots. That's a stage.
I always like to explain that to the shooter. Hey, this is what you should get out of this drill. Right?
Yes.
This is the components you're working on. And then if I run them through a small stage, these are the components that you're going to be using in the stage.
And
right?
You get more done. They get more out of it because they're not trying to remember 14 things. Because anybody that shot competitively remembers when you were brand new, you were trying to remember what do I went over here, what it's at. Okay, it's overwhelming to them. You want to make it simple and you want to make it pertinent to their job. It should be relative to and relatable to their requirements on the street. Okay, Stop saying USPSA. Change the freaking scoring. A no shoot is a fail. You don't get to do that. So start grading people that way.
Yep.
Start getting in their mind that no, hey, if you hit a no shoot, that's a fail. And guess what? If all you're doing is like this is your trial kind of thing, they let you run, the last hour you can do your, whatever stuff, like the higher school, you can do your whatever it is, sports shooting stuff. No, it's
Right.
operationally based performance shooting, sir. They let you do that. They're going to watch. And when they see you go, oh, you hit a no shoot, that's a fail. That's an instant fail right there.
Yep.
And they see you explain why. Like you were not in control of that gun, or you took a shot that your vision wasn't connected to. And you're explaining to them at a level, you can't shoot something, okay, at a pace that is unsustainable by your skill set. So either you're going to have to be more careful, which is going to mean you're going to have to slow down some, or you're going to have to come in here a lot more and practice more and dry fire more. But you can't do this. We can't allow this. When they hear you talking like that, they recognize you are protecting them, their job, their department, their livelihood, whether you like it or not. That's the truth. And you got to do it if you want to get something through.
Yep. And your own career reputation, right? So I had John B. 2053. Any culture change has to come from the bottom up. If you guys at a time, nothing wrong with shaming people into doing better. The higher ups are clueless on the benefits of performance shooting. I'd agree with that to some degree. Some of those, but culture change coming from the bottom up. Yeah,
Nope.
you can change the culture with some guys, but not everybody.
You can't.
Because
Here's the deal, man.
am I required to do that? I don't
Here's
care.
the deal. I'm
Yeah.
going to piss in the punch bowl. No, you can't change it from the bottom because I've tried. You can't. You have to convince the top. You are the catalyst for it at the bottom. But you have to convince the top that it's in their best interest and they will change it.
Yep.
You can't change it from the bottom.
Yep.
I'll argue that with anyone as someone that's changed stuff before in a federal agency. Okay? I changed it because I convinced higher that was in their best interest to do that. You can't just straight up. You can't do it from the bottom. It is not possible.
You won't get everybody.
Period.
You might get some, but you won't get everybody, and that's for sure.
You won't get it with any. You won't get it with any permanence. The next chief or whoever that comes in may shut it down.
Yep.
To get it changed officially, it has to be in all the paperwork and all that. That happens at the top. Doesn't happen at the bottom. The catalyst is you at the bottom. You have to be the guy that briefs it. You're the brains to it behind the scenes. You're the guy pulling the strings, and you make the suit or whoever the chief is, whoever, you make him recognize this is in his best interest. And he gets to take credit for making the change and all that. That's the way it works, man, like it or not. But you ain't changing shit from the bottom. You're not. You are convincing someone at the top to change it the way you like. Yes, it may sound like semantics, but it's not, because the truth
They're
is
ultimately making the decision to change.
Yes, they're the decision maker.
Yep. On that, I've seen a culture change like on SWAT. Guys used to focus on things that I think they didn't focus on shooting as much as they need to. Because honestly, a lot of the senior guys weren't really that good. And that culture kind of changed, right? With a lot more younger guys focusing on shooting, and that, they gain seniority, and that changes the culture, right? But on a department, you aren't going to have everybody go along with that. They don't care, right? Oh, okay, you shot faster than me. I guess it's cool to shoot fast. Well, I don't give a shit. I work over here. I just straight don't give a shit. And if they don't, that's not going to change the culture. And you'll have a lot of people that don't, right? But if they're required to do it, right, and their boss says it's important, they care about what the boss thinks. They care about what the boss is focused on. They're going to shoot better, especially like your ladder climber type, right? That I want to advance through the ranks. They really care about what the bosses think, right? They're really conscientious. I want to do a good job. And if the boss puts an importance or a premium on that, then they're going to go all in on it, right? And that's the way it is, but I'm like you. I've tried to change it from the bottom up, right? And I have a little bit of control being a range master, but unless the bosses were signed on it, I wasn't going to change it. Department wide, a little bit, yes. How does one learn what's useful to LE in training? I have plenty of stages drills, but how do I learn which are useful and helpful to teach other LEOs? Well, look at what the deficiencies are in your agency overall, right? And I think we hit that. Deficiencies, what we've seen for our experience is gun handling. That's the deficiency. I would focus on that. And that's pretty much every agency. I'm a mid-sized agency, a not a small one, not a gigantic one in the middle. And I think that gives me a good measuring stick for them. It's gun handling is the issue.
Yeah.
That's it. And I would tailor my drills around that.
Yeah. And I would also look at, if you have the ability to get the information on, look at historic OIS distances and round counts and all that. Look in your general area. What is the general profile? Not a specific, on this day this happens, so I'll make a drill.
Yeah,
look at it and go, our engagement distances are generally this long. Okay. And then start building building a drill around just the marksmanship piece of that. Can you just hit at that distance? Our average distance is 17 yards.
Yep.
Okay. What can you hit? Can you draw that pistol and get an A zone hit at
under 2 seconds?
Yeah, under 2 seconds at 17 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's why it's like, to me, you have to do some homework about it. Let's see, what is this? Thought on Sierra, and that thoughts
Adrian.
on Sierra ones. Yeah, Adrian, I know. DMAD drills. I don't comment on people's drills until I shoot them. I haven't shot his drill. He's a personal friend of mine, and he's a good shooter. He's a good dude. There's a lot of good drills out there.
No,
There's a ton
and I
of
can
them,
speak, on his stuff. Remember those videos he was doing with an OIS and then a training, a stage? I thought that was great, right?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Visual explanation right there, right? Those are fantastic.
And those,
here's an operational requirement. Here's the drill we're running.
Yeah, and that's replicating operational capability requirements. This is something that someone had to actually be able to do. And here's the video of them either doing it or attempting to do it. It's like that highway patrolman that shoots that kid in the pickup truck in the middle of the intersection.
Oh, yeah.
The one where he comes out.
Yep.
He
comes
runs
out,
back.
spins around. Yep.
Yeah.
He's
doing a traffic stop. This dude, which is weird. He stops in the middle of an intersection. I'm sure a bunch of you guys have seen it.
Yeah.
He's walking up. The kid comes out with what was it like? It turned out to be like a pellet gun or some shit.
Yeah.
It was some stupid shit. Anyway, he got burned for it. The dude turned around, took like 5 steps back to the back of the pickup truck, actually grabbed it and pulled himself around as he was drawing.
And looked over his shoulder to get his target, to draw his gun to the target.
Got his vision to the target before he had even turned around, stepped in a position, fired a single shot, center punched him with 357 SIG.
357 SIG. Yep.
Yeah.
Done.
That's like, that is an extraordinarily realistic, when you think about it, statistically, like retrograding, getting in a better position, getting your vision to the threat as rapidly as you can, so you can start the shooting process. Because like Pat and I say, the turn starts when you start moving. The shot process starts when your vision sees where the bullets have to go. He got his vision on that suspect really quick, which is why he got a shot off so quick. But that kind of stuff, when you're coming up with drills, that kind of stuff is important to have. Don't get tied to it to replicate it. Look at it as a skill requirement. I have to be able to move rapidly and create space and then rapidly engage effectively, which means I've got to move fast and I've got to get my vision on that suspect as quick as I possibly can so that I can begin the engagement process. So not just copying another drill per se, which I think Adrian's got really good drills. Just like I said, he's a personal friend of mine, full disclosure, he's a good friend of mine. So I don't like, but I try not to like cross that line and be like, hey, he's your boy, you're going to hook him up. No, he's a good dude. He comes up with good drills, but make your own, because there's a learning process in there. That's one of the things that I think is really good that Adrian does with it, is he's going through these. He's looking at this OIS. Okay, how do I structure this to mirror a requirement? He's learning about creating drills, and he's gotten good at it. Everybody else needs to do that too. And that's one of the things that I pride myself on. When I come up with a specific drill, it is intended to make you do certain things that you don't want to do. Pat and I were just shooting one we get called tap the brakes. There's a confirmation 1, confirmation 2, and confirmation 3 target that you're shooting in an array where you've got to go. You've got one center, one left, one right, and you shoot it in all different sequences. So sometimes it's confirmation 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's 3, 2, 1. Sometimes it's 3, 1, 2. Sometimes it's 2, 1, 3. You keep changing it up so it doesn't become a timing drill. But what I want is a rapid transition from different confirmation requirements at a high rate of speed. So I know specifically what I want to work on, which is it is a common mistake that everybody makes when they shoot, transitioning from one confirmation to another, especially going from long to short or short to long, going confirmation 3 to confirmation 1 or confirmation 1 to confirmation 3. You got to tap the brakes. Okay. And so that's what you should be learning how to do.
Yeah.
You should be learning how to structure a drill for a specific skill requirement that you want to exercise for your officers.
Yep, exactly. And every agency is different. They're smaller, they're bigger. you might have some like where Adrian's from, they get cops from all over different academies that are coming into their agency. So he has people with way different, I mean, they might be trained completely different coming from one agency and now he's got them on his, right? And they're like, whoa, how do I run this guy through? So I think he does a good job with the videos. It's visual explanation. Cops are dumb. They look at that. They go, oh, this is cool. I get it. That makes sense to me. Right.
Yeah.
I think cops are dumb. That's kind of a mean thing to say, but some of them are.
You're,
I think that
I didn't
applies to
say
every profession. That applies
yeah,
to every
it
profession.
does. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thoughts on that. I don't have much any other questions here.
No.
You know, I'm not seeing any pushback on it, which is
No.
good.
It's shit. Just dropped a picture off my desk fucking with a gun. Because I was playing with my gun. But anyway, yeah, I think the salient points to this, the key points to take away are exactly what you said, which is, dude, we haven't changed the culture collectively. Everybody trying to. There's a bunch of us, some of us, you know, like me, retired mill guys that are civilians, some guys that are LEOs, all that. Everybody's trying to change the culture. We haven't. Why haven't we changed the culture? We haven't changed the culture because our approach isn't capable of doing that, because it's not for lack of trying. Okay. So now what are things that I have seen that are impediments to it? Okay. First of all, stop talking about USPSA. You're not training people to shoot USPSA. Okay. 2, stop going, everybody should shoot USPSA. Every cop should shoot USPSA. They're never going to do it. They are never going to do it. 3.
Because all have jujitsu guys in my department. Oh, you're a USPSA guy. How many hours a week are you in the gym? Right?
Yeah.
How many hours a week are you in the dojo on the mat? Oh, jack shit. Oh, you're fucked up. Right?
Yeah. You've got to get away from talking about USPSA. Okay. It's operationally based performance shooting. Okay. Change the scoring metric and start penalizing people for no shoot. Say you zero stage. Once we get into the validation part, we train high performance shooting. Hey, mistakes are fine. They're welcome. Go ahead and do them. Do them here. Because when we do the validation exercise, which you should do at the end of each training day, you can't have any no shoots. We got to know that you can do this under control. Okay. And then make sure that you can brief that to higher and go, this is why we use this metric, hit factor. This is how we use this metric. And this is why it's good for you, good for the department. It's good for the officers, officer survivability, all that. The general public, all of it.
I think that's an important point you make about when they're training, right? You have to make it okay during the training because they have to run at the edge of control and find out where that is. If I say during training, you hit a no shoot, you failed, that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't do that.
That's not the right answer, right? They've got to be able to fail and then you bring them up to where they can engage it quickly, right? So kind of like going to the gym, you live till failure, right? All right, you failed, right?
That's how you get better.
That's how you get better, right? Yep.
What Pat and I are talking about is just it's a shift in perspective. Okay. I am looking at what we need to do to succeed at changing the culture in a positive way. Not to make it exactly like I want, because if it were exactly like I want, like your ammo budgets would be crazy. You'd be shooting all the time. You'd be like, everybody would be required to shoot USPSA.
Right.
You know, everybody would be required to go to the gym every day and check in. Like, okay, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Every SWAT team guy is going to be a GM shooter, right?
Yes.
Ain't going to happen. Right.
So but we've got to change the way we approach this. And the biggest thing to me, if nothing else, stop saying USPSA. Stop saying sports shooting. Stop just.
You're not going to buy in on that.
You're going to get pushback instantly because all they're going to hear is it's a game. That's it. It's operationally based, meaning we are tailoring it to operational requirements, performance shooting, which means we're using hit factor. That's what that means. Operationally based means it relates specifically to job requirements and previous incidents, and performance shooting means hit factor.
Yep.
Okay.
And then like we structure the SIT and the MEC. Hey, this is the hit factor you've got to make, right? Yeah. I've got to have a failure point. Hey, you can't run through, and have a 2.0 friggin' 1 hit factor. That's not going to work, bro.
Too
right?
Slow.
Depending on you're too slow, right? So you've got to put that premium on there, and just understand that a no shoot is a no shoot. It's a fail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You lose, sir. Good day.
Good day. You get nothing.
You get nothing.
That's one of the best
if I was
things
still there,
ever.
I'd have that picture up on the wall. Like, good day, sir. You get nothing.
My God.
Yeah. So, anyhow, Mike, I think
we beat it to death.
a good one. Yeah, maybe Adrian will hit me up tomorrow about this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe he will. But
Yep.
well, shit, dudes. Thanks for tolerating an hour and
Yep.
change, an hour and a half for this. It's that important. The reason that we spend so much time beating this dead horse, trying to get it to come back to life so we can beat it to death again, is because it's really important. And it's
Yep.
something that Pat and I really believe in, and a lot of you believe in. Okay,
Yep.
we have to
Yep.
find a way to enact what we know, not what we think. What we know is a better way to train. What we know is going to make the department look better. It's going to keep the officers safer. It's going to keep the general public safer. It's going to make the chief look better. Everyone's going to benefit, but we have to figure out how we can convince them of this.
Yes.
When they don't have a bunch of shooting knowledge, they're not sports shooting dudes, they're not USPSA bros or whatever. We have to convince them that performance-based shooting, or operationally based performance shooting, is what they need. It has to replicate something, a skill that people can recognize as being required, and it has to be quantified in a way that's logical, that they can put on paper and go, this is what we're doing. You can show them this is the efficiency. Points divided by time is how effectively we can transfer energy to a suspect to get them to stop doing what they are doing if it requires the application of deadly force. Okay, it's not hard to sell, but you have to think about that, and you have to formulate those arguments so that you can address their concerns before they ask them. Okay?
Yep.
It's like mission planning. I don't want, when I get done, when I was a mill guy, I got done with mission planning. What are your questions, sir? Or what are your questions, gentlemen?
Yep.
I don't want a freaking question, because that means I didn't cover something.
Exactly.
Okay?
And I get that every time when I see a guy teaching a class and he's halfway through. Any questions on this? I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. And you're looking for somebody to remind you of what you missed, right?
Yeah.
I explain everything. There shouldn't be any questions,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they are, they're usually a stupid one, right?
The only stupid question is the one that wasn't answered. And then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, and they're like,
Yeah.
no, actually, that
No,
was a
no,
dumbass
that
question.
was a stupid question, right? Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yep, exactly. So, yeah,
that's it,
Mike.
dude.
Yep. Hit it on this one. Got no more questions coming up here, and
Yeah,
16 guys
everybody's
left. I
cool.
think the East Coast
Yeah,
guys dropped
I was
off.
gonna say the East Coast. We're gonna post this anyway. The East Coast,
Okay.
I said to drop out because it's freaking late.
Yep.
So,
Right on.
all right, bro. I'll
All right.
talk to you
Cool,
later.
man.
Everybody else, get out there and train and start thinking about how you're going to explain to hire why they're going to be better off if they support you doing what you know is better for the officers. That's what you got to do.
Yep. And I'll finish it with my overpriced piece of crap, right? That I have 50,000 rounds through.
Oh, I got you, Pete. Here, listen.
Yeah.
This one's got over
This is a little
100,000
rally.
rounds on it. Dude, hey, let me say something real quick, and then I'm actually going to post this again on a completely separate one. You can have whatever opinion you want about staccato. John B, 2053, you're welcome, bro. You can have any. I don't care. Like, I'm not here to shill for them. I'm not here to whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just here to say something. I have a gun that was a demo gun. Okay. That I got when I was still working with them, or working for them actually. And it had 35,000 rounds then, what, 5 years ago? And you
Yep.
can hear it. Can you hear it?
Yep.
Rattling?
Yep.
It rattles like a baby's toy. It still shoots under 2 inches with anything that you put in it. It's got over 100,000 rounds in it, and the only thing that I've changed is recoil springs. So
Yep.
if you wanna, you wanna freaking throw shade on staccato for their business practices, or whatever, that's a different topic. But I really don't give a shit about that.
Yep.
Don't go out there if you don't own one and you haven't shot one. And I've got quite a few of these. Don't say they're shitty guns, because they're not. They're great freaking guns, and they're pretty. Mine have been bomb proof, and I shoot the crap out of them. And so if that's your argument, well, that they make crap guns, that's just freaking untrue. So just stop. Just like, if you don't like the whole dealer drama and whatever, I don't even know about it. I don't know what they're doing, what they're not doing. I'm not privy to that stuff. I don't really care. You know, but
an end user.
Don't
right.
Yeah, don't talk. Yeah, I'm an end user. Don't throw shade on the guns. They work freaking good.
No,
So,
no, they work
and they're
fine.
well made.
Right. I don't know how many large full-time and large city SWAT teams that run this gun, and they wouldn't be running them if they had problems with them.
Yeah,
they just wouldn't do it. Right.
So
those armorers don't like doing work.
So
all right.
Well,
all right,
get
brother.
some rest, bro.
Yep, absolutely, man. Talk to you soon, Mike.
Later.